When you think of Chinese food in America, one dish likely comes to mind: Chop Suey. It's a staple of takeout menus across the country, savory, saucy, and served over rice or noodles. But here's a question that stirs up a surprising debate. Was Chop Suey really invented in New York? Some say yes, crediting inventive Chinese immigrants in the late 1800s. Others insist it's a dish with deep roots in traditional Chinese cuisine, only slightly adapted to American tastes. So what's the real story behind this iconic, if somewhat misunderstood, dish? Let's dig into the history, myth, and cultural journey of Chop Suey. Let's explore, right here, on History of Simple Things. To understand Chop Suey's origins, we have to go back to the mid-19th century. In the 1840s and 1850s, large numbers of Chinese immigrants began arriving in the United States, primarily from Guangdong Province in southern China. Many came during the California Gold Rush, hoping to strike it rich or at least find steady work. These early immigrants brought their language, traditions, and of course, their cuisine. But Chinese food in America faced an uphill battle. With widespread anti-Chinese sentiment and xenophobia, especially during the implementation of the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, immigrants were often pushed to the fringes of society. Still, they built Chinatowns in cities like San Francisco and New York, opening restaurants that catered both to fellow immigrants and, gradually, to curious Americans. One of the most popular origin stories of Chop Suey claims it was invented in New York City in the 1890s. According to legend, a Chinese diplomat was visiting the city and needed a late-night meal. The Chinese chef, scrambling to make something out of whatever was left in the kitchen, tossed together a mix of meat, bean sprouts, celery, and onions with soy sauce. Voila, Chop Suey. Another version of the story involves a group of drunken American patrons demanding food after hours in San Francisco's Chinatown. The chef, annoyed and under pressure, whipped up a dish using leftover scraps. These tales often carry a similar tone: Chop Suey as an accidental, improvised creation made just to satisfy Americans' tastes. What made Chop Suey different and acceptable to many non-Chinese diners was its adaptability. It wasn't too spicy, used recognizable vegetables, and had a mild, savory flavor profile that was easy for American palates to accept. Unlike many authentic Chinese dishes that used ingredients unfamiliar to Americans at the time, Chop Suey looked and tasted safe. By the early 20th century, Chinese restaurants offering Chop Suey were booming, especially in big cities like New York. It became a kind of culinary ambassador for Chinese cuisine in the West, even if it wasn't a truly traditional dish. In fact, restaurants would often put Chop Suey in bright neon lights on their signs just to attract American customers. The dish had become symbolic, less of China and more of Chinese-American innovation. Here's where things get complicated. While the popular stories place Chop Suey's birth in the U.S., many food historians argue that it's actually derived from a traditional Cantonese dish called Chap Suey, which literally means miscellaneous leftovers, or odds and ends. In southern China, it was common to stir-fry a mix of vegetables and scraps of meat into a single dish, especially among working-class families trying to avoid food waste. So was Chop Suey just a rebranding of an existing Chinese practice? It seems likely. Immigrants arriving in America adapted what they knew to the ingredients available and the preferences of a new audience. Over time, Chop Suey evolved into Chop Suey, less a random throw-together meal and more a strategic bridge between two cultures. During the early 1900s, Chop Suey became so popular in America that it was even referenced in pop songs, vaudeville routines, and silent films. President Theodore Roosevelt was said to have eaten chop suey at a Chinese restaurant in New York, giving the dish an unofficial stamp of approval. Chinese restaurateurs, despite the ongoing discrimination they faced, used chop suey as a way to integrate economically and culturally. The dish also took on symbolic meaning. It represented both assimilation and exoticism. For many Americans, eating chop suey was a way to try something foreign without straying too far from familiar territory. Fast forward to today, and chop suey has seen a decline in popularity, especially among younger food enthusiasts who seek out more authentic regional Chinese cuisine. Dishes like Sichuan hot pot, Xi'an noodles, and dim sum have taken center stage. Chop suey is often dismissed as an inauthentic relic of the past, a bastardization of true Chinese food. But that view overlooks what chop suey really represents. It's not a false version of Chinese cuisine, but a testament to how immigrant communities survive, adapt, and create. It stands as a culinary monument to Chinese-American resilience and ingenuity. It fed not just stomachs, but identities. So, was chop suey really invented in New York? The answer is, sort of. It wasn't pulled from thin air or cooked up on a whim in a Manhattan kitchen, but neither was it entirely imported from China in its final form. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. Chop suey is an American-born evolution of a Chinese idea, shaped by the pressures of immigration, prejudice, and the human desire to belong. It's a dish that tells a story, not just of food, but of migration, survival, and cultural exchange. Whether you see it as comfort food or culinary compromise, chop suey deserves a place in the conversation about how food reflects who we are and who we've been. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.